Start by talking about the unavailable search scenario. Can't contact the search backend. Then I'm going to go on and talk about how sometimes we run into scenarios where we can't crawl the content, and for some reason it's not working, and we need to diagnose that. And then finally, talk about how to diagnose and resolve missing results. So let's jump back over to the demo environment. Second demo right here. So let's start here. If I go into my search here, and I start out by searching for this common term, LoRaWAN, because everybody wants to find how to get that content. I get the dreaded message. Oh, sorry. Well, actually, it's a lot nicer. Did you notice that? 2013 is a really nice interface. I don't know if you've noticed this. Actually, it's all throughout the interface. Like, hey, we're just about there. We're really excited. I mean, it's happy. It makes you really. I'm sorry. Wow. That's so nice. So, but if I click, but unfortunately, I click on this. Oh, sadness. Correlation ID. That's not going to help me. Can't help with that. So, what do I do about this? Okay, so. We mentioned before about the developer dashboard, right? It's a very useful tool. So to enable the developer dashboard, there's a couple ways to do it. I'm just going to go in here and on the server side, just enable it. And if I type this out here really quick, hopefully it's big enough you can see, all I'm doing is enabling this on the object model. And I'm setting the display equals on. We had 3 different levels in 2010. Which is kind of like auto level, but now the way that they've exposed that to the UI, it's just on and off. So I can just turn it on and update, and I can, so let's go ahead and do that. Oops. Enable, really quick. Okay, so now if I go in, and this search center, this screen doesn't show the ribbon there, but if I go into site settings, I'll see that the developer dashboard icon is here. I can click on it. And then there's a screen that we showed in the slide. It's even showing already the request that was made, and I can highlight that. Oh, I made a developer dashboard request, and I can see information about it. I can see basically a lot of the information that you saw in 2010, but now all kind of in the same place, and really giving you a much richer set of information you can use. One thing I like about this screen is if you see the watermark behind there, those bars, those represent kind of the latency for each of those components, so you can see kind of similar to the way you see in the developer tools, F12 developer tools in Internet Explorer. You can see the progress over time of the requests when they were made. So you can see that the longest time here was this SPC117 claim. So let me just go back and reissue that search again. And then let's bring up that page here. Okay, so I've got a new entry here. One thing to note here is that, kind of just incidentally, this is a service request being made. This is not an actual page request. When I hit the search button, it didn't actually refresh the page. It just went back and made a client-server object model request, which is kind of cool. Again, I can see the scopes here, the details. The one that I wanted to highlight is this ULS. So we know there's a problem. I can go right into the ULS logs, and if I just search for error here. Okay, so I can see that down in the log there was an error, and the error occurred. Oh, endpoint not found, cannot connect to, and then talking about this processing component, IMS query internal, connection attempt with target machine refused, actively refused. All right, so right there it tells me that there was a communication problem, probably a network communication problem. Could be that it's a multi-node system. This isn't a single node, but if it was a multi-node system, it might be some kind of DNS resolution. It could be a proxy setting. It could be a firewall, right? I know that's not the case in mind because I know that's not the problem. What's going on here? So what I would do here is I would say, okay, there's something wrong with that service application. So if I go in and refresh this here, okay, for one, it's taking a while to start up here. Okay, there's really something wrong with the search service application. It's not even loading. And if I can let it go for a little bit, it'll actually tell me that it can't contact the admin service. So this will give me more because I know what's going on here. Let me go in here. Oh, okay. Look at that. My debugging skills are amazing, and I found it was like highlighted. The search host controller service was stopped. some evil, nefarious person did it. And okay, so I admit that that's a really kind of contrived thing, but the point there is to show you the tool and how it's working. So I'm going to start this. It's going to start up. As it's starting up, I'll just point out something here too. This is the host controller service there. That's the corresponding. Let me zoom in so you can see that. See if I can do that for you. Yeah. Well, this is this host controller service there, and there are node runner processes that run under each one of them, and each of the components within the FAST new search core in SharePoint 2013 use this infrastructure. So I can see they're started up, and if I go back and check this guy, oh, he actually came back. It's running good. Okay, well, starting up. Takes a little bit. I can actually watch this as it's going to initialize. So let me see if I can issue a search yet. Let me do it. No, not yet. Takes a little bit of time here. So with any luck, search will come back up. So as I mentioned, here the node runners represent each of the, so kind of just give some more detail. There are two different search processes really now. There's MSS search, and if you're familiar with SharePoint 2010 and then 2007, you got the MSS search with the child process, which is the MSS daemon, and that's the crawler components. Okay, that's been responsible for the crawler. And then the host controller service, the one that I'm starting up here and it's initializing, is responsible for all the other components. And these are the admin components, the crawl component, or the content processing component, core index components, search, query processing, and analytics. So this is, see if now we've got this going here. Search. Whoa, demo gods, come on, please. No more. All right. We run one other thing here. I've got a status here for the. I have a command here that is, so PowerShell provides a way of going in and actually looking at some of the component state. And I've got a script here that wraps that PowerShell, and I can come in and look at the health status of that component. So I'm going to run do that. Looks like on the back end, so we've got the admin components going up, the analytics processing components, content processing, they're all up here. And then we get some details about the analytics as well. There's some jobs that run in the back end, and they look like they're all okay. Search buttons, everything's great. Let's see. Ah, okay. That deserves a clap. Okay, so, yeah, this is always a fun thing. So now this will take a little bit longer now. It's the first time it's hitting the engine, it's going to kind of spin up here. I can actually watch this request go through. And in fact, you actually see a lot more requests coming through now that the search results are coming back, because there's all these residual requests for data that's coming back from the search engine. But okay, so I have nothing in my index right now. So that's number one. So we fixed the search service. Now we actually want to get some data in here. So I'm going to go over here and go to my content sources, and I have. As I just showed, I have no content in the index, but I actually have previously crawled, before I nefariously turned the search service off, I actually crawled some content. And I have this intranet web, and this is a business unit within my organization. They're really keen on getting this crawled, and it's just a public site. So there's no security on it or anything. Simple thing. I just want to index it. So I said, okay, we'll do that. So I've gone in and actually set that up. And actually, let's go back to the content source here. And as you can see here, the content source is a type website. It is, they gave me the start URL, this default CSS, default page. I actually have tried this out. I went over and actually used this competitor product here because it doesn't support integrated authentication by natively. So I wanted to test the theory out that this was really anonymous access. And lo and behold, yep, I can actually access this site. This is good. So I should be able to crawl it. It's got some great content. So, it's got two documents in there. So I should expect to get 2 documents in there. So, okay. So I've got that site there. And like I said, I've crawled this content. So I'm going to go into the crawl log and see what's going on. Oh, I can see that there has been an error. An error has occurred in the crawl log. And I look at that, and it's showing me access denied. Okay, so so I didn't expect this, right? I went to the browser, and I actually could get into that site, and I kind of confused why that is actually the case. So I don't know if you guys have run into this problem. Has anybody run into this problem before, where they've got an anonymous site and they can't crawl it? Yeah, really weird, isn't it? As it turns out, this is actually a very common scenario that occurs, and there is, in 2013, anyway, there's a new feature that we have, a new crawl rule that we have that can address this. The issue is that although this site is anonymous, I actually kind of set it up so that it would work this way. That in this case, it's an IIS site that had both anonymous and integrated authentication on it. And by default, if I go to the search administration screen here, the crawler will use an account and try to authenticate using integrated authentication for that site. So because the site supports it, it will use it. And unfortunately, this dummy didn't give my search service account access to that site. He thought I was just going to crawl anonymously. So what I can do is I can actually go in and now create a new crawl rule for that site. Never have done this before. And so I will include that. And here, I've got a new anonymous access option. So this is a new feature that we have. Okay? So, and it's interesting, I'm doing this for let's go ahead and get this going here. So I set that role. I'm going to start that crawl going here. Now, what you typically do when you set up a new crawl rule is you'll want to test that, right? So I'll test my URL, make sure it works correctly. And lo and behold, it does. So it matches. That's good. You want to make sure that you do that. Something I wanted to point out here too, though, is that although I'm setting this crawl rule for a specific site, it may actually be a good practice in many cases, because however your intranets are laid out, to set this as a default crawl rule. So using kind of the wildcard as a base crawl rule, so that you avoid passing any kind of credentials. Particularly if you're crawling external sites outside your organization, this is a good way of avoiding passing any kind of credentials outside your organization. So not just for fixing or troubleshooting an issue, but just as a general best practice for avoiding that scenario. And then you can explicitly then tell it to use the integrated authentication for a domain or a set of sites that will receive that. So let's go and see how we're doing here. And let's go to the history. So we're starting to crawl this site. Now, there are a couple of things here that slow this down. There's, as you know, we still have the same crawler infrastructure as in 2010. So when you make a change like this, it will kick off a job to start the crawl. And then the database, the reporting databases themselves are updated on a regular basis. I've got a little script that I'm using to kind of force that update. And so we'll see how this comes back here. So we crawl the site. The crawl history should indicate that we're getting content here. Oh, another thing I want to show you too. So another tool, and many of you guys are also aware of this, the ULS viewer from Codeplex. There's actually 2 of them. There's one you could get off Codeplex. There's also one off of the MSDN code site. These are really good tools. It works great with 2013 as well. One thing I didn't show you here, but I captured from the previous crawl, in addition to the crawl log itself showing access denied, I can get more detail here from the crawl log. And what I've done is I've simply put a filter on the MSSDMN process, and that gives me just pares down the logs to just what I want to look at. And here I'm looking at this, I can see this access denied error when it was trying to crawl the internet web. I can actually open that up. I hit a Control E, that just opens that up, removes the filter, and I can look and see how it's going here. And it's going to authenticate with there's the access denied I got previously, so it's starting up. It's going to crawl. So let's see what we've got here. So if I filter by, let's see the message. It contains intranet web. Okay, so we've got some access here. So we're crawling the web. The started S here. Let's see if we can back to my crawl log. Okay, so now the crawl log shows that we have a success. And if I click on that success, okay, so I got a URL. Another round of applause. Woo! Okay, we're getting there. Now, that's great, but that's not good enough, is it? Because what did I say? There was 2 URLs. Dang it, on that site. Dang it. Okay, so, but we did get around the authentication issue, and that's great. So, there's something special about this URL. You probably thought it was weird maybe when you saw that start URL, right? I have an extension on there. You note there that it says